So what we're going to look at here is changing the litter orientation with the scoop process. And we do this if we have a difficult edge transition in the horizontal orientation. Let's say we want to make it in the inline edge orientation, but then we have a patient whose condition demands being in the horizontal position, or we have a long lower or something like that, where it's much better off to put the patient in the horizontal position. So we'll look at ways to have the litter inline and then change back to horizontal and vice versa. So that's more or less the application. We'll come on in and take a look at some of the details of how I'm going to rig this. So I've got it rigged here to be inline. And so we can see I've got my regular rigging with long-tailed interlocking bowlines into a bridle that goes into the head of the litter down here. And this bridle has the capability of back and forth, so it can be used in the inline orientation when only that's weighted, or it can also flip back over this way. We will, let's see, so I've got that bridle there. I've got all my patient rigging and everything normal. I've got an X-Man set up on my patient. I've got it tied in with a long tail bowline, litter straps, footboard, kind of the whole thing. All normal stuff there. For myself as the attendant, I am into one of the long tails, and I've rigged myself long enough so that I can go all the way down to the foot of the litter, even when the bridle is pulled directly in that inline orientation. And then I want to have a little bit more mobility for myself so that I can move myself around. So rather than attaching myself with a Purcell prusik to that master point, I'm using the Aztec jigger system, which I've connected up at the top here. So in that regard, I have connected the prusik that's closest to myself, and I'm pulling down off of the bridle up there. So I'll be able to adjust my position with the Aztec by pulling in this way, pulling in this way, pulling myself in. I will lower myself out by pulling on this prusik and lowering myself out that way. Great. So I've rigged on my Aztec. And then I also have and I have my Aztec all tidied up and on my side here. So I have all my pieces and parts. And I also have at the foot of the litter, I have a foot bridle, which is attached with a jag, and a jag is just another version of a jigger. I could use another Aztec, but I think it's easier if they're separate. And the jag also contains the parts of the jigger here, which makes it a little bit easier. So I've rigged the jag onto the foot bridle, which making sure not to pinch those feet all too much. This thing is loose so that when we go inline, it doesn't come tight at all. And then when I want to switch to the horizontal orientation, I move myself up towards the bridle. I grab on this thing, pull it in, and that's going to allow us to change the orientation of the litter like yay. I need to have this thing rigged so that it's on the outside, and that as I grab, if I want to release it and go back down to the inline orientation, that I have access to this little lever to release. So that's got to be with my rigging here on the outside as opposed to pinched between other beaners. Okay, so I think that's about it for rigging. We'll get this stuff off the ground and take a look at the actual movement. So we've just gone ahead and pulled the ropes tight and lifted the patient off the ground here. You can see this thing's loose. My attachment's loose, so I'm able to actually be all the way and land, have full mobility around to any end of the basket as need be. I will go ahead and move myself on up higher up there so that I can reorient the litter. And you can start to see a little bit better. It's a little bit difficult to make it out because there's a bunch of pieces, but you can start to see a little bit better how I'm making my best efforts here to try to keep things nice and clean, separating pieces. When I get extra bits on my Aztec, I'll make sure to go ahead and throw them back in my little bag there. and keep all this so I minimize the amounts of twists and tangles as I go. So I'm going to start to move myself up here. As I do this, I'm going to have to kind of Johnny, our fake patient here in the basket. With a real patient, with a little bit more weight on this thing does settle a little bit better. So he's going to kind of like rock around a little bit more than we'll see with a normal patient. We'll give it a try though, see what it looks like. So as I pull myself up with my Aztec, when I pull myself in, then I can set that prusik, and that should hold me right in place there. When I get up to where I'm going to actually operate, very good. I'm going to mess around with this thing. I can take a bunch of this and tidy it away. Very good. Tidy all this away. And then if I know I'm going to be in this position for a while, I do have the tail of this bowline as my backup, but the only thing holding me right now is this prusik on here, and just to protect against slippage there, if I'm concerned about it at all, I can certainly take a carabiner, clip it into my harness, and I think this is a pretty decent idea, just to tie off here, and I could do a clove hitch or a overhand on a bite or whatever, just to make sure that I don't go slipping all the way down to the end of that tail length. All right, now that I'm up here, hey buddy, I can manage my patient airway or whatever I want, or if I need to reorient, then this is the place that I have to come to do that, because I need to reach up and grab the end of the jag that pulls the feet up, and as I start to pull this in, then we'll see the litter will start to reorient, and he's not going to sit nearly as flat as a heavier person would, but we'll see the basic idea here. All right. And pull myself up in here. So I've basically flattened him out, put him more or less horizontal. And you can see the way I've got this rigged here is with my connection in the middle of these other two, and the progress capture on the jag up at the anchor, or excuse me, the bowline's end, and the progress capture on my Aztec down by my harness with my connection in the middle. This allows me to get the patient in the flat horizontal position here, and allows me the mobility to move around. Of course, if I want to switch this back out down into the inline orientation, then I'll just need to release on the jag. So I need to be up high in order to do that. I can't be, I have to have access to this release on the jag. I need to release that and release this out. Again, with a heavier patient, this is a little bit more strenuous, but the jag has the, in this, 5-to-1 mechanical advantage built into it. And this will allow me to go back down. Allow me to put this patient back down in the inline orientation. Obviously, we don't have a wall right here that I'm working against, but as long as we plan which side of the harness we're going to be on, in the inline orientation will be like this, with the wall here, and with the horizontal orientation, we need to be on one side of the basket. Plan that, and we should be good. Get ourselves back up here. And with the horizontal orientation, the wall's over on this side, my feet against it. I need to lower myself down a little bit better to have access to the wall. I can easily do so.